Hey there, boys and girls. We have done it. We have arrived at the very last lesson of Chapter 3, Divide with a whole number and mixed numbers. The objective is students will divide with whole numbers and mixed numbers, just like the title says, but they're saying this is going to be a long lesson, so probably take us about 2 days in class to get done with, and a few minutes here in video, so we better get started. Firewood is often sold by the cord. A cord of firewood is a stack that measures 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet. The unit got its name because originally the stack of wood was often tied with a cord. Because a piece of wood that measures 4 feet will not fit in most fireplaces, the wood is often cut into 16-inch pieces. A stack of wood that is 16 inches by 4 feet by 8 feet is 1/3 of a cord, and this is called a rick. Campers have 1/3 of a cord of firewood, also known as a rick. They plan on building a fire every day of their 10-day camping trip. Do you think they could find a fraction of a cord that they could burn each day, assuming they burn an equal amount each day? These are the kind of things we're going to learn how to do in this lesson. And now would be a good time to take and pause the video and write the title heading, which is Chapter 3-5, Divide Fractions by Whole Numbers. And mixed numbers. Missed that other part there. I think that was in the first slide we had. Oops, go. So how are dividing fractions by whole numbers similar to dividing whole numbers by fractions? Well, it's the same general concepts, and we're actually going to be doing the same things we did before, where we're going to be taking and making improper fractions out of the whole numbers. Only difference is what end of the problem is it going to be located on. The bar diagram shows a fraction of 2/3, and we're going to use a sketch to show 2/3 divided by 2 and record our expression as a quotient on a piece of paper. So here you can see the bar diagram. You've got one whole and 2/3 of that bar diagram is shaded. Now if we were to divide by 2, that means I'm going to put one dot here, I'm going to put one dot here. That means I'm dividing the 2/3 into 2 equal portions. How much is half of that going to be? Well, 1/3 and 1/3. When you divide 2/3 by 2, you get 2 1/3 sections. But what if we were to take and divide it by 3? If we were to take and divide by 3, I'd have a point here, and I would have a point here, and then you would have the 3 pieces here, which is going to be a totally different number we're not going to work with right now. And if we were to divide by 4, that means it would go here and here. So your 2/3 of the bar diagram is being divided into 4 individual pieces, which is yet another number, and we're not going to worry about what those answers are at this time. Now this next bar diagram is going to take 1/2, divide it by 3. So you can see half the bar diagram is showing there, and when you divide that half by 3, you end up getting 3 pieces of the half there, which incidentally the final answer of that would be 1/6, but we're not going to get into that detail. We're just trying to help you to understand that when you divide half by 3, you get 3 individual pieces of that 1/2. And finally, if we took 3/4 and divided by 2, well, here we have 3/4 of the bar diagram. I'm going to divide by 2, so you can see right here, of the 3/4 of the bar diagram that was given to us, we have 2/2 of the bar diagram, 2/2 of the 3/4, and that's going to be breaking down to get the answers of that one. Now, that all looks nice for kind of visualizing what 3/4 divided by 2 looks like, but it doesn't really do a good job of giving us an answer. So we need to take and work on figuring out a way to actually get answers that we can live with, and for me this isn't it. Alright, I took a little bit of time off to talk to my oldest, who's at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and it is time to get back into this. Believe it or not, this is Friday night. It is 7:45 p.m. and I am probably going to be working on schoolwork until close to midnight tonight, getting things ready for you guys to be able to learn great things with. So, where were we? You can use a visual model to represent division problems involving whole numbers and fractions. So right here we have 3/5 represented as a fraction bar. The problem says 3/5 divided by 2. So we've got the 3/5 represented as a fraction bar. And now we're going to take that 3/5 that is there and divide the 3 into 2 even pieces. That's what it's asking you to do. When it says divide by 2, that means you're taking that 3 out of the 5 pieces you have and dividing it into 2 even pieces. From there, we're going to have to break it down into smaller parts in order to be able to work on it. So they took all the fifths they had and they cut them all in half. And what do you know? That ended up giving them some tenths. And how many of those tenths do you have in 1/2 of the 3/5? 1, 2, 3. So your answer is going to be 3 out of 10 for the final answer. That's a little bit better visual representation than what they were showing us before. Now I'm going to back up and we're going to say the whole thing again because it's a little confusing. You've got 3/5 written as a fraction bar. The 3 is shaded. That's what you have. This part over here, it doesn't exist. Now we're going to take this 3/5 and we're going to divide it by 2, also known as cutting it in half, which took place right here. Now there is no line right there, but we can see that this line is halfway through this space right here. So they went ahead and put lines halfway through all the spaces, and when they did that, they ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sections. Of those 10 sections, you have 1, 2, 3 in one half, and 1, 2, 3 in the other half. So half of 3/5 is going to be 3 out of 10 that you see in your final answer right here. Now you can also use an equation to solve division problems, and I will choose this over using bar diagrams any day of the week because it is super simple. If you knew how to do the last 2 lessons, you're going to find this one is an absolute piece of cake. So they took 3/5 divided by 2, and I'm going to stop right there, and rather than showing you the way they do it, I'm just going to show you the simple way because they're going to put all kind of extra steps trying to computerize it. And like I tell y'all, trying to do math on a computer, it just doesn't work. It's much better to do your math on paper by hand because you can leave a lot of steps out and still be able to make sense with everything you're doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 3/5 divided by 2, and I'm going to start off by making that an improper fraction, 2 over 1. What comes next? Keep, change, flip. That's it. Keep the first number, 3/5, change division and multiplication, and flip or take the reciprocal of the second number. Simplify if you can, which you can't, and multiply. 1 times 3 is 3, 5 times 2 is 10, and 3 over 10 is the exact same answer we got when we used the bar diagram and cut it up into little pieces. Now going back to the way they showed it, look at all of that work they had to show theirs, and for me, that's what I'm going to expect to see. That's showing your work. That's exactly what I'm looking for in your homework. Be sure that you write the original problem, because if you don't write the original problem, I'm not going to give you credit for doing it. You might want to take a minute though and write down their steps here. While it's pretty numbery and wordy, their steps really do explain what's happening each step along the way. So what if the problem came to us as a word problem like this? Faye is making party favors dividing 3/4 pound of cashews into 12 individual packages. That's not going to be very many cashews for each package. How many pounds of cashews are in each package? So you're dividing 3/4 into 12 separate packages, otherwise known as dividing 3/4 by 12. Now think about this for a second. Is the answer going to be something bigger than, littler than, or equal to 3/4? it's going to be smaller than 3/4 because you're taking 3/4 and dividing it into 12 little bitty packages. It's got to be smaller than 3/4. So moving forward, one way we could do this is to write an equation to model the problem, which means we need to start off with the 3/4 is our original problem. We're going to divide it by 12. So we're taking the 3/4, dividing it into 12 equal pieces. Check our answers. That part's good. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take and solve the equation. And one way of solving the equation is going to be to use a visual model. So using the visual model, they took the 3/4 divided by 12. You can see you've got the fraction bar. It's cut into 4 separate pieces. 3 of them are shaded. That's the 3/4. Here comes the hard part. They want you to divide this bar into 12 equal, these 3 pieces into 12 equal pieces. Yeah, okay, sure, let's do that. It's going to look like that, where each one of these big rectangles gets cut into 4 little rectangles. The easiest way to do that, divide one in half and then divide each half into halves again. That gives you 4 for this one, 4 here and 4 here. So you have a total of 12 pieces. How many of those pieces are actually going to get used? Well, divide the remaining part so that each section is an equal size. Yeah, that's kind of what we did there. So only one of those 12 pieces. So that means that there's going to be, how many pieces are total on the graph? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 16. The denominator is going to be 16. You got 1 out of 16 that's actually getting used. It'd be easy to say 1 out of 12, but when you get to your final answer, you're going back to the entire bar graph, recognizing that a bar graph represents 16 whole pieces. But alas, that's a lot of work. I really don't like doing things with bar graphs and whatnot because I'm just not an artsy person. As I've told you all at the beginning of the year, my stick people look bad. It sure would be nice if we had a simple equation or algebraic way of solving those. And hey, looky right there. Method number 2, use an equation. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to solve it using the algebraic equation approach, which is 3/4 divided by 12. Now once again, rather than work it here, I'm just going to go off to the side and we're going to use some clean space on our screen and we're going to work the problem, and then I'm going to show you what they did. So I have 3/4 divided by 12. That of course is going to become 12 over 1. Now I'm going to keep, change, flip. 3/4 gets kept. Change, division, multiplication. Flip or take the reciprocal of the second number, becomes 1 over 12. Now we're going to simplify. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 12 4 times, and multiply. 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 4 is 16. Circle your answer. That's the same exact answer we got doing all that artsy stuff. And isn't this a whole lot quicker, easier way to do it? Now, I do need to remind you that this is going to be showing your work. This is what I must see. If I see anything else on your homework, unless it specifically tells you to use the bar graphs, then you could have done it just for fun. This is the way big kids do their dividing fractions. Now going back to the lesson, how they showed their work, follow all that out. Look at all the stuff they did there. My method's a lot cleaner and simpler, but they do a good job of showing you line by line what is happening each step of the way, and in the end they're going to get the same exact answer I got. And I think this is a good place to end video 1 or part 1. If you guys would, while I'm getting all this set, go ahead and work this problem, because this problem is how we're going to end up starting off part 2 of 3-5, dividing by whole numbers and mixed numbers.